The moon hung low over the valley, swollen and red like a bleeding heart. Mist coiled between the pines, and the wind moved with a voice soft, but carrying a weight older than memory. Beneath the trembling sky stood Gareth Vane, his cloak snapping behind him as if the night itself were alive and restless. He waited at the edge of the Vale of Thorns, where no birds dared to sing and no souls lingered after dusk. His hand rested on the hilt of his blade, a long, curved weapon black as obsidian, etched with faint red runes that pulsed with every heartbeat. The sword had a name, Morwen, the Devourer. And it was said that no human could survive its strike. Gareth believed that. He'd seen kingdoms fall to it. He'd watched men and monsters alike dissolve into ash the instant Morwen's edge drew blood. The curse of the blade had become his creed and his burden. But tonight was different. Tonight, he was not the hunter. The air trembled, and with it came a presence, faint at first, then heavy enough to make the mist shiver. From the shadows between the trees, a figure emerged. A woman. She wore no armor, no weapon. Just a long coat the color of the storm, her boots muddy from the climb. Her face was pale but strong, her eyes reflecting the moonlight like glass. "Gareth Vane," she said quietly, stopping just beyond his reach. "I've come for you." Gareth's eyes narrowed. "Another fool chasing legends?" She smiled faintly. "Maybe. Or maybe I'm the legend that ends yours." He drew Morwen, and the runes flared alive, red veins of hunger crawling up the blade's length. The mist recoiled as if the sword drank from it. "You know what this weapon does?" he asked, voice low and even. "I've heard," she replied. "No human can survive it." He tilted his head. "Then why are you here?" Her smile faded. "Because I'm not sure that I am human anymore." The air broke open with a sound like thunder swallowed by silence. Gareth swung once, clean, lethal, practiced. The kind of strike that had ended lives before breath could turn to scream. But she moved. Not with speed, but with inevitability, like water flowing around stone. His blade cut through the air, through her coat, but not through her. The mist parted, then reformed around her shape. Gareth stepped back, eyes narrowing. "Tricks," he hissed. "Truth," she whispered. "Do you feel it, Gareth?" The blade hesitated. He glanced down. The runes on Morwen were flickering, pulsing unevenly. The blade had never done that before. "What are you?" he demanded. She stepped closer, her boots whispering against dead leaves. "Once, I was like you. Flesh, blood, fear. But the veil changes those who linger too long. You fed your sword with souls, I've fed mine with silence. There's no mine in this," Gareth snapped. "You came to die." She smiled again, closer now, too close. "Then prove it." And for the first time in years, Gareth Vane hesitated. The mist deepened, swallowing their outlines. Two figures, one blade, one challenge, suspended in a place where life and death meant nothing, only will. He struck again. And again. The blade screamed this time, a chorus of voices crying from the steel. The souls within Morwen raged against something they could not consume. Sparks of red and silver burst in the mist. Her hand brushed the flat of his sword, bare skin against cursed steel. There should have been pain. There should have been death. Instead, Morwen dimmed. Gareth stumbled backward, horror crossing his face as the blade's light bled away into her palm. "You take too much from the dead," she finished, voice cold now. It was only a matter of time before one of them learned to take back. He looked at her, truly looked, and saw then that her eyes weren't reflecting the moonlight. They were the moonlight, silver burning through the human shell she wore. "Who sent you?" he demanded, but his voice cracked. "No one," she said. "I came because you forgot what dying means." She raised her hand, and the mist rose with her. For a heartbeat, the world went blind white. When sight returned, Gareth was alone. Morwen lay in the dirt beside him, blackened and cold. And somewhere in the valley, her voice lingered, faint as a whisper through the fog. "Next time, don't hide behind your blade." The fire refused to light. Gareth Thane crouched beside the ashes, striking flint to steel again and again until sparks flew wild, bouncing off damp bark and stone. The rain had soaked everything, and the chill had settled deep in his bones. He hadn't slept since the encounter. He hadn't dared. Morwen, once alive with the hunger of 1,000 souls, lay dull beside him. The blade's surface, once dark and smooth as glass, now looked cracked, veined with gray. It didn't whisper to him anymore. No murmurs of power. No promises of invincibility. Only silence. He hated it. The silence pressed against his skull, heavy and suffocating. It was as though the blade's death had pulled something vital out of him, something that wasn't supposed to leave. He'd lost men before. He'd lost blood. But never this. Never the certainty. The woman, whoever or whatever she was, had taken more than the weapon's strength. She'd taken his truth. He struck the flint again. Spark. Smoke. Then, finally, fire. The flames caught, and for a moment, warmth found its way back into his trembling hands. Gareth stared into the orange light as it danced against the blade lying nearby. And in the reflection, faint, just a trick of the fire, he saw her. The woman in the coat. Standing behind him, silent, half-formed in the shimmer of heat. He turned, drawing more one on instinct, but there was no one there. Only the forest, the hiss of rain, the endless night. He clenched his jaw. "Get out of my head," he muttered. The trees gave no answer. But then a whisper. Not from the forest. From the blade. "You shouldn't have hesitated." The voice wasn't Morwen's usual chorus of wailing souls. This one was soft, human, hers. Gareth's grip tightened. "Show yourself." "You called me here," the whisper answered. "When you lost faith in the blade, you invited me in." He stood, scanning the tree line. The fire flickered higher, revealing shapes between the pines, not people, not shadows, but something caught between. Faces stretched thin over smoke. Eyes that remembered pain. The souls of Morwen. Freed. They circled the camp, moving like moths drawn to their old master. Each one shimmered, breaking apart and reforming with every step closer. Gareth stumbled back, heart pounding. "No," he whispered. "You're bound. You're mine." "You were never ours," said a voice, and this time it came from within the flames. The fire surged, rising taller than a man, and out of it stepped the woman again, the same gray coat, the same calm expression. Only her eyes were different now. They burned brighter, like molten silver, twin moons blazing in the rain. "You're dead," Gareth said. "I was," she replied. "You made sure of that years ago." He froze. His mouth went dry. "What are you talking about?" She tilted her head. "Do you remember Alara Ridge? The storm that swallowed the town? You came hunting for a witch." Gareth's stomach turned. The images hit him like blows, the fire, the screaming, the sword flashing in the rain. He'd found a woman there too. She'd begged for her life, claimed innocence. He hadn't listened. He'd been younger then. Arrogant. Loyal to the whispers of the blade. "No," he murmured. "That can't." "It can," she said softly. "You didn't just kill me, Gareth. You bound me." He took a step back, shaking his head. "No human can survive Morwen. No soul remains whole enough to." "I told you," she interrupted, stepping closer. "I'm not human anymore." The fire dimmed. The world around them seemed to fold in on itself, collapsing into the whispering veil once more, the same mist, the same crimson moon above. He was back where it began. "How?" She smiled faintly. "The veil never lets go of what belongs to it. You brought Morwen here once to feed it. The souls you took, they became part of me." "You're lying." "Then strike me down again," she said. "Let's see what your truth believes." His hand trembled. The sword felt heavier than it ever had. He swung. The blade moved sluggishly, cutting through mist and memory. But she didn't flinch. She didn't move at all. The strike hit and stopped halfway through her form. Not because it missed, but because the blade refused to finish. The runes along Morwen flared once more, not red this time, but pale blue, as though unsure of whom to obey. The woman reached up, touching the blade gently. "It's learning," she said. Gareth stared, his breath fogging in the cold air. "What are you doing to it?" Showing it the truth, she murmured. "A blade doesn't crave blood. It craves meaning. You fed it death, but never reason." The mist swirled, coiling around them both. Gareth's vision blurred. For a moment, he saw not her, but dozens, the faces of every life Morwen had taken. All staring back at him through her eyes. "You think I'm your curse," she said quietly. "But I'm your conscience." The ground shuddered. The veil's ancient hum grew louder, vibrating through the air. Morwen trembled in his grip. Cracks spidered across its surface, light leaking from within, not red, not blue, but white, pure and blinding. He dropped it. The sound it made when it hit the ground wasn't metal, but screaming. Gareth fell to his knees, clutching his head. "Make it stop." "You made this," she said, kneeling beside him. "Every life, every drop of blood, every name you forgot. You don't stop it, you listen to it." The screams grew softer. The light faded. And when Gareth opened his eyes again, the veil was still. Morwen was gone. So was she. Only the echo of her final words lingered in the air. "You can't silence the dead, Gareth. But you can atone." He sat there until dawn broke over the trees, the sun bleeding gold through the mist. For the first time in years, his hands were empty. And for the first time in his life, he felt human again. The world had color again. The veil of thorns no longer whispered. The mist had thinned, and the morning sunlight pooled through the canopy in quiet, golden ribbons. For the first time in what felt like centuries, Gareth Vane heard birdsong, faint, cautious, but alive. He sat by the stream that cut through the valley, the same one he'd once washed blood from. Now, it washed him clean. His reflection in the rippling surface barely looked like him anymore, eyes hollow, hair streaked with white, a man carved down to his last fragment of soul. He was unarmed. Morwen was gone. Its absence was an ache that pulsed like a missing limb, but beneath that ache was something else, relief. Freedom. He touched the water, and the chill ran up his arm like a reminder, "You are alive. For now." A soft voice broke the stillness. "You don't belong here anymore." He looked up. The woman stood across the stream, her gray coat fluttering faintly in the morning wind. The light made her seem almost human again, her form solid, her eyes no longer blinding silver but soft gray, the color of rain clouds over a grave. "You're haunting me," he said. "Or guiding you," she countered. He rose slowly, every movement stiff. "I thought you were gone." "I was," she said, stepping lightly over the stones until she stood on his side of the stream. "But the veil doesn't let go easily. It still has a debt to collect." He frowned. "From me?" She nodded. "You broke the cycle. You freed the souls, yes, but you also unmade the sword that held them. That kind of void doesn't just vanish. It fills itself with what's left." He didn't understand at first, not until he saw her outline shimmer again, fading slightly with every word she spoke. "You're part of it," he whispered. "I was it," she said softly. "Now the veil is choosing a new vessel." "No," he said sharply. "No. You can't." She smiled, almost tenderly. "It's not a choice, Gareth. It's balance." He shook his head, taking a step toward her. "Then take me instead." She blinked, surprised. "You'd offer that?" He nodded once. "I fed the veil. I gave it lives. I should be the one it takes." For a moment, she just stared at him as if weighing the weight of that truth. Then, slowly, she extended her hand. "Do you mean it?" "Yes." The wind stilled. The forest quieted. Even the stream seemed to pause its endless song. When she touched his hand, it was warm, startlingly so, almost human. But then, as her fingers closed around his, he felt the world tilt. The ground trembled beneath them. The trees leaned inward, their branches bowing under unseen weight. A soft hum began, deep and rhythmic, like a heartbeat beneath the soil. The veil was listening. "Close your eyes," she whispered. He did. Images surged through him, lives flashing like sparks in a storm. The faces of those he'd killed, their pain, their fury, but also their longing for release. Each one passed through him, not as judgment, but as recognition. He saw Alara Ridge. The burning rooftops. Her standing in the rain, hand outstretched, eyes pleading before his sword fell. He had forgotten her name. Now, it returned like a prayer. Ilara Win. Her voice echoed through him. It was never about the blade. It was about what you made of it. The world flared white. Then, silence. When Gareth opened his eyes, he was standing in the middle of the vale. The trees were still. The mist had lifted completely. The valley was bathed in sunlight, warm and golden, as though the curse had never existed. In his hands, something glowed faintly. A sword. But not more one. This one was smaller, lighter, its steel pure and bright as dawn. The runes along the hilt no longer pulsed with red or blue, they shimmered soft gold, breathing with quiet life instead of hunger. He recognized the weight instantly, and yet it felt clean. Her voice came, faint as the breeze. "You offered your life. The veil accepted your redemption instead." "Ilara," he said softly. "I'm here," she whispered. "Not bound. Not weapon. Just peace." He turned the blade in his hand. "Then this? A memory. A promise. It can protect, but it will never consume again." He felt tears he hadn't known were left sting his eyes. "What do I do now?" "Live," she said simply. "And remember." Her presence faded with the wind, leaving only the hum of life, birds, wind, the crackle of distant water. The veil no longer whispered death. It breathed renewal. Gareth stood there for a long time, sunlight touching his face. Then he looked down at the sword, the blade reborn, and smiled faintly. He slid it into its sheath. When he turned toward the forest's edge, the veil behind him shimmered faintly, a curtain of light closing over a story that had finally found its end. He took one last look back. The wind brushed past, carrying a familiar whisper, softer now, like laughter through leaves. "No human can survive your blade, remember?" He smiled. "No," he said aloud, stepping into the sunlight. "But maybe they can outlive it." And with that, Gareth Vane walked out of the Vale of Thorns, not as a killer, not as a legend, but as a man finally free.